Hi there, it's Elaine Lindsay, the glamourpreneur with True Social Media. I'm your host for BBP TV show, and I'm here today with a very special guest, Gayle Rappaport-Weiland. Hello.
Hello.
Gayle is in California. More to the point, Gayle is an artist. And wow, I mean serious artist. I'm going to give you a little sort of look into what she does, and people who know me will know exactly why I wanted to talk to her. So Gayle, you bring originality, enthusiasm, energy, and heart, I think, to everything you do in your life as well as your paintings. And you use what it says in your bio is rule-breaking techniques that set you apart from the crowd, creating beautiful impressionistic works using watercolor, acrylic, and mixed media. Your qualifications and expertise, whether as an artist, teacher, curator, juror, and on-air personality, are widely recognized and respected. Gayle is a past 20-plus year veteran of the local public television station, KVIE. She's the on-air art expert, volunteer, juror, and artist, and she now is a co-creator, producer, and host of the Art Revealed show. Welcome, welcome. I'm really glad to have you.
Well, thank you. And it was so wonderful to meet you, and the stars aligned, and we're here together.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was really quite interesting because our connection is through Mari Smith.
Yes, and we love the Queen.
Yeah, and it was really interesting because the minute I started looking at your art, I knew that it was going to be a very special meeting, and I was looking forward to the show. What I didn't say to begin is you do a lot of art with angels.
I do. Should I show you a couple?
Yes, please.
And I'm wearing one of the angels right here that I designed.
Oh, can you bring it really close to the camera? Thank you.
You see her? She's sterling silver and Swarovski crystal. And I designed her. I work with this amazing company called Vita. And what I love about this company, it works with artists worldwide. I am one of them. And I actually do live video for them, live Facebook Lives, which is exciting. We have another one coming up. But part of it is they give back. There is no one in their factories. They all go through part of the proceeds of our sales. They go through a literacy program, which is so close to my heart. And I love at this point in my life that my art isn't only about selling, but it's about paying it forward and giving it back. And that's why I think I began painting these angels. I asked to do something that made a difference in people's lives. And all of a sudden, I started painting angels, Elaine. They always showed up in my work, and I didn't paint them out. It was like, oh my God, there's another angel. And but then when I asked specifically, then I just started painting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these angels in all sorts. I mean,
they're beautiful.
Thank you. And I feel like I do believe they brought us together. I feel like they brought us together. They bring me to the places and the people that I'm supposed to be touching in some way, or it's more of a gift for me and how they touch me, the people that I am, brought together with.
Oh, see, that's such a lovely way to put that. I really quite enjoy that. As per usual, we will have a beautiful page on BBPTV that will give you all kinds of information about Gayle, more probably than we'll talk about here. And we'll give you links to where you can find her art, her artworks, her angels, and also where you'll be able to find her on social media.
That's wonderful, and I appreciate it.
Oh, that's great. What I wanted to talk about, because quite often people talk about, being on social media and how you manage digitally and what have you, and that is important. It's part of why I do the show. But what really fascinates me is what made you start? How did you know that you were an artist, and how old were you when you had that knowing?
Well, I have to say I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. A tree grows in Brooklyn, so I probably should have only been able to paint one tree, but actually I can paint a couple more than that. But nevertheless, there's a picture of me probably at 2 years old with a paintbrush in my hand.
Wow.
So, I grew up in New York. It's unlike growing up in other places. You're surrounded by art. Our school trips were Broadway trips, the Museum of Modern Art,
Guggenheim.
There was art in the schools then.
Yes, yes.
Like you actually had an actual art period with an actual art teacher.
Yeah.
And in high school also. I mean, I had art every year in high school. And so to me, art wasn't an extra like sometimes it is today.
Yeah.
It was just woven into my life. It was part of the energy of my life. And so I feel my journey art has been part of my journey always.
And did you know by the time you were a teenager, was it part of the framework of where you thought you'd be going in your life?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I had, I actually remember looking out of, we were in a 900 square foot brick, upstairs, downstairs house in Brooklyn. And I wish I had these pieces. I don't anymore, but I remember doing a painting with, prang paintings, watercolors of the tree in my backyard, honestly.
Oh, wow.
And basically, my parents were not, I knew I was going to college. I didn't know for what. I actually wanted to be a physical therapist because my mother's friend was a physical therapist. God, that would have been the worst thing for me in the absolute world. But we couldn't afford Ithaca College where she went. And so instead, I got a scholarship in math, which I still count on my fingers, to a state college. So I went to upstate New York, and recreation to me seemed close to physical therapy. Not really, but at that time with no guidance. And so I actually got a degree in recreation, and I was very involved in pottery. And so really I was a potter, but you couldn't carry pottery around with you. I would have had a minor in art had I taken one more art history, but I was much more involved in doing it. And I also ended up obviously being a teacher, because I have to say that in college I had teachers that I don't feel taught people the way you should. I actually, and I'll tell you folks, I got a C in my drawing class. Ooh. And I don't want to tell you why, because it was a whole different time. Okay, we won't go there, but I wasn't going there with the teacher. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And the drawing, to me to look at, was phenomenal. It was, it was phenomenal. But thankfully, with the constitution I have, I didn't let that crush my ego. Yeah. And so I vowed as a teacher, because you're teaching technique, and everybody has a gift, okay? It just matters whether or not you pursue it and whether you learn it. We have to learn how to spell. We have to learn how to put together sentences and then into paragraphs. But if no one teaches you that, you're considered illiterate, correct? Well, you are illiterate in art until somebody teaches you. Even if you're gifted, you have to learn the techniques.
That is such a good way to put it. because, you know, we have to learn to walk and talk, and nobody expects a baby to just know everything.
Right.
So
And
why
would you in art? But people are like, oh, I could never do it. Yes, you can.
Wow.
You can do anything you put your mind to. I believe that from my heart.
Yeah.
And look, I'm doing social media, and I'll tell you, I went kicking and screaming.
Yeah, well, you and a lot of other people, absolutely. And it's interesting because that's actually how we met, is through social media.
Right.
And it's fascinating to me because the technical side for me is kind of like your art. Absolutely. I love all the techie bits. I love getting deep into AI and machine learning, and, you know, give me a tech something and I'm a happy little camper.
And me, I run the other way.
Yeah. And I hear that a lot. And I would, oh my God, I would love to have been an artist. Mm-hmm. I did not pursue it in a school way. I had a lovely art teacher in high school. Mr. Monahan was his name, and he, like you, believed that everybody had art in them. And I did get to do some art, but yeah, I knew deep inside I wasn't going anywhere far with my art.
And that's just a choice. That's just
exactly.
I will tell you, I don't want to mention her name because I know she's on Facebook, but a good college friend of mine, I'm telling you, she had more innate talent in her pinky than I would have in my whole body. But see, I pursued it. I put the time in. I took action. You see, it's anything you do. And you know what? And I'm just going to say this. I could be that good on the computer too. That's just not where I want to put my time.
Yeah. And it's true. Where we put our action, that is what we excel at. Mm-hmm. And whatever that may be, you know, that's why we have artists like you. That's why we have incredible authors and producers, and because they put all their efforts into something they knew that they were good at, and they pursued it to get better, mm-hmm. which I think is wonderful. And I think we don't do it enough now with the last couple of generations, because, you know, everybody gets accreditation for participating, which is great. Mm-hmm. I think it's lovely. But humans are comparative by nature. You can't know tall unless you know short. Mm-hmm. You can't know light unless you know dark. So if
you got to go to the top of the mountain to be at the bottom.
Exactly. But following that, you know, as an artist or as a singer or an author, you have to be better than in order to stand out and be able to, you know, call yourself artist. To have others call you artist or singer is because you excel in that particular genre.
And work. You see, that's what people forget.
Exactly. And putting in that work, there has to be the accolades in order to allow people to see where they have progressed. Mm-hmm. You know, there has to, I think, be that sort of differentiation.
Oh, I agree, absolutely.
Did your parents, were either of your parents artistic in any way?
No, not at all.
No? And did you have siblings?
Yes, and no, not at all.
Just wow.
Yeah, but I'm sort of, I was different in many ways. I'm sort of a free spirit, or I was a free spirit. You know, when all my high school friends in New York were getting married or staying and going to Brooklyn College, I went to upstate New York. Then I went cross country. I spent 7 months in Europe backpacking. Oh, wow. I mean, so yeah, I was a real different animal. And even though I grew up in New York, I really liked the country and hiking and camping. It just never seemed, I felt like it wasn't where I was supposed to be. I love it now going back, but growing up, it wasn't the perfect fit for me.
Right, right. And kudos to you for following that understanding,
Yeah.
because not everybody does that. Not everybody.
People are afraid.
Yes, exactly.
And fear is paralyzing.
Yeah. So what gave you that extra oomph to go past the fear?
You know, that's a very difficult question to answer, because I guess I wasn't afraid. And the funny thing is again, as a child, and you know, I didn't want to go away overnight. Like I would cry.
Oh,
like,
wow.
oh, and so I, you know, that's a hard question to answer. I went away to school, and I guess in a sense, I was, you know, always exploring, maybe to try to find what was the right fit. And, you know, I'm in heaven right now. I'm in Pismo, California.
Wow.
And I think, you know, at the end, well, I don't want to say it's the end, but at the ageless journey here, I'm someplace that just fits me perfectly. It's heaven on earth here. I actually have a little painting that I did just outside the gallery, Seaside Gallery, that carries my work here in Pismo Beach. But that's right outside the gallery.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So again, I think we end up where we're supposed to be, with whom we're supposed to be, and even if there are things that are difficult, and of course we all go through some form of difficulty at some point in our life. I think if you get through it, then you can reflect, because it's what makes you make the decisions and act the way that you act.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, go ahead. No, I was just pausing.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we've got you through university, backpacking in Europe. Wow, that would be incredibly exciting. And
I jumped out of a plane in New Zealand with my daughter.
Wow. Okay. Okay. You really have no fear.
Well,
Wow. You didn't go to that tower? The tower that they all jumped
no,
on?
my daughter did that. I refused. She did dare me to jump out of the plane, and I'm not good when I get dared, but I just said, no, I just can't go upside down with my legs tied. That just sort of, it was nicer being tied to a very attractive man jumping out of a plane.
That would definitely be better. I have to agree. That would definitely be better.
You know.
So, bringing you to California, how long have you been out there?
Well, I actually have been in California longer than I was in New York. One of my very first jobs, I also have emphasis in environmental education. One of my first jobs was in Oregon with outdoor school. I got on a bus by myself for an interview with a backpack, you know, my senior year of college. And I got this interview at outdoor school, and first I was saying Oregon instead of Oregon. And he said, unless you know how to pronounce the state that you are in, we can't give you the job. You know, and I was like, so I was a resource specialist at outdoor school in Oregon for several years. So basically, I've been on the West Coast probably since I was in my early 20s.
Wow.
So though I still have a New York accent, you can't take the New York out of a New Yorker.
Oh no, nor I don't understand why anybody would want to.
No, New York's great.
New York is, I love New York.
Yeah.
Fabulous city. It's right up there with it's in my top 5 for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
So you're on the West Coast, you're now in Oregon, not Oregon.
Right.
But now you are gone.
Yes. I actually lived through Shasta blowing up also. I was in Portland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was that. I actually, sometimes I should write a book.
Yeah.
I have an interesting journey, shall we say.
Absolutely. What's the first painting that you sold commercially?
to my uncle. My Uncle Morris, may he rest in peace. You know, and he was the type of guy who gave you money in a brown paper bag. I also have a very colorful family. And he said, okay, I want 2 paintings for your Aunt Bernice, who she also, may she rest in peace. And I said, which ones do you want, Uncle Morris? You know, and he was supporting me.
Oh,
And,
that's nice.
you know, and he bought 2 of my paintings. I don't know if you consider that commercial. But
well, I think if someone pays you, that makes it commercial.
well, my feeling is, and I teach, you know, well, I did teach more of them, but I do have one coming up, a business of art class. And I also do personal coaching. Unlike other coaches, I don't say, go home and do a list of stuff. You talk to me, you get to pick my brain, which has a lot of stuff in it. And basically, to me, the first people who should be, I guess not should, who would be lovely if they supported you would be your family.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so yes. And then, I mean, I did things while I was working as a recreation director, and that's what I want people to know. You know, you just don't become an artist. You know, maybe you're going to have to waitress. Maybe you're going to have to work your recreation job. My art was always there. I was always doing it. So I had a recreation job all day. And what made me, I'll tell you, want to sell my work, this was after Uncle Morris, but I would pin paintings on the board because I was teaching as a recreation director for 1,000 Trails. I don't even know if they exist anymore, up on the summit at Donner Pass. And, you know, I would write, this is what we're going to paint today. And people were stealing the paintings, okay?
Oh,
it's
wow.
like corkboard. And I was like, okay, if they're good enough to, you know, to steal, they're good enough to sell.
Absolutely.
And that's when I started putting a price on them. And you have to value your time, you know? And I think artists often don't. I think, and, you know, pricing is difficult, this and that, but that's a lot of the things that I will talk, you know, and coach an artist personally on.
Yeah. And I think it's really important for the audience to understand, okay, that you obviously grew up in a very supportive, loving family, and not everybody has that. But it shows what's possible, because I don't think, from what you're saying, I don't think you ever questioned yourself. You just intrinsically were. And you just were able to build on that because of your background, which is incredible. And I think it probably gives you a lot of insight in being able to coach others in art, because you had such a loving start.
Well, many people that I have mentored or have taken classes from me, because I, you know, again, I don't want to go the ageless route here, but, you know, my career, you know, is easily, did I just move this? Oh, I think I can. Is it still okay?
Yeah, you're okay.
You know, spans over 40 years.
Yes.
Or more. 40, 50, say, yeah, more than 40 years. And so I guess my mantra to artists out there is, I think a lot of artists want to do it for a week and they do their first show and they're like, oh, it really wasn't a success. You know, look at you. And it's like, I have put sweat and tears into this. It may not look like it, but, you know, it's been a long road. And you have to put the time in. You have to put the time in. And yes, you know, my parents loved me a great deal, but they also were not people who knew how to guide me. I mean, I started working at 11 years old at a camp. I waitressed when I was 15. I, you know, schlepped, shall we say, into Manhattan when I was 15, working at an eyeglass store, and I knew nothing about eyeglasses, but I was selling frames, and I was 15, so I shouldn't have really been working, you know?
Yeah.
And so, again, so yes, I had loving parents, but not parents that knew how to guide me.
Well, no, it doesn't sound like they really understood the art world. And,
Right.
and I can relate to that. You know, I come from immigrants. We came from
Yes,
Scotland.
same thing. My mother came from Poland on a boat at 3.
Yeah, yeah, same here.
Oh,
And you know, my parents were limited in what they knew we could go on and do. They wanted us to do well.
right.
But, you know, your parents obviously loved you. They wanted you to do well, but they would not have had, you know, doors open for you within the art community or understand.
No, I didn't have that at all.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yet you were able to go ahead and make your way. And as you say, it didn't happen overnight.
No, not at all. And the thing is to speak to what you do. You know, I'm going to turn this around for a minute because you know I'm a host also.
Yes.
It is that social media, like the real world, if you're not calling social media necessarily the real world, it's all about relationships. Again, you and I. Yeah. Yes, maybe if we met in a coffee shop, we would have the same relationship, but, you know, in a sense, we met in an internet coffee shop.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you find those who do social well do take it offline.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. You know, as Maury would say, on Messenger or other places.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and so many people, and I, like I said, I came kicking and screaming. I didn't have a phone until I was 50, an iPhone. You know,
wow.
I didn't want it. I'm so social and into relationships. I didn't want to be that connected. I didn't want to be found 24/7, because you will find if you text me about my art, about, you know, anything like that, you see, I get back to you. And I get back to you in a New York minute to the best of my ability. And it sells art. I'm telling you, I sell more art on social media than any other platform.
So what drove you to social media?
So my friend Janice, if she's watching this, she said, "Oh my God, you have to get an iPhone." It's like, I don't want an iPhone. Well, how do you check your email? Because she's like type A over the top. And I'm like, I check it when I get home, Janice. And she said, "You mean you don't check it?" Like, no, why would I do that? And honestly, she pushed. And I was like, okay, fine, leave me alone. And then, you know, then I was getting all these like things, be on Facebook. I would delete, because I've been on Facebook, I don't know, a really long time. Yeah. And I would delete it like, no, if you want to talk to me, get on the phone and call me. You know, I don't even know what freaking Facebook was. You know, Facebook, leave me alone. And then finally, you know, I have had many interns who are more involved in social media, and then I just got turned on to it, and I'm social. So I have to be honest, at 2 a.m. when I was up painting and nobody else really wanted to talk to me, and it really is not a great time to call somebody.
No.
I would get on chat and go, "Oh my God, I'm in the studio painting." Yeah. "Oh, you're awake?" And so it really, and then I said, okay, my friend Vicky, who works with us on the Art Revealed show, and I met her at a baby class, she said, "I'll put the business page together for you. You don't have to touch it. I will put it together. If I put it together, will you do it?" And she did that for me. So the other point, again, to give you a plug, is if you're not good enough to do it yourself, farm it out. You don't have to do everything. You know, somebody else does my website, you know, and that's what Elaine's here for. You know, farm it out.
Absolutely. Somebody else does my art, because it's not me.
Right. So the thing is, you don't have to be an expert in everything, but be an expert in what you're doing.
Absolutely. And the other thing that's really important, because as an artist, I can see you being up in the middle of the night, and that's a really good option for you to give you a little bit of respite to, you know, let you become more creative is to go off and chat with someone. I have to say that as much as social media and search optimization and the show is what I do, I'm actually one of these people that by 7 o'clock at night, the phone is gone. It's put away in the kitchen. The office is closed. And I don't touch it again till 9 o'clock the next morning. Because
it's more of an 8 to 5.
Well, yeah, because we have a rich life, what I call IRL, so in real life, and we have grandkids, and I have to honestly say my husband didn't even get using a phone until about 3 years ago.
Yeah, I don't have a life, Elaine. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. But hubby, he got into it because the grandkids were into it and his hockey buddies were into it.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, if you have to have, funny enough, an in real life reason to participate.
I agree.
And moving into social, for me, you'll love this, I got in there to stalk my adult children because they were getting tired of me calling all the time.
That was part of why I got my daughter a phone, you know, because then I could, you know where she was.
Yep. And neither of my kids lived in the same city with us. You know, once they were grown up, they're scattered to the winds, and it made it so that I wasn't always infringing on them, but I kind of knew they were okay. You know, and that to me was important. But my father, who's 85, uses Facebook a lot.
I love it. And the thing is I do feel social media, and people have asked me again, I just have not gotten together, you know, to teach online.
Yeah.
And again, it just becomes, there's only so many hours in a day. And I don't mind the painting part. I just haven't pulled it together. Maybe we'll talk about it, Elaine, to do the technical part.
Well, yeah, because you do a show as well, I think that, you know, the very next level for you would, of course, being online.
But I'll be honest with you, the show, and again, the Angels, I believe, brought that art reveal chair together. And I will tell you, my producer, I'll give them a plug, my producer and director, Dante and Dominic Morris, have done an app called Hoop Maps, and they were on Shark Tank.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God. And, I was just so thrilled for them. They didn't get a deal, but they got a venture capitalist after. And so they're doing great. But you see, what I love about that show is I had a dream, okay, because I was on air for the public television station. I don't do that any longer. But I love being on air, I think, as you can see. It energizes me. And they had me on their show that they were doing through Sacramento State called Sunset, and they had me demonstrate on their show. And then I went, well, these guys know what they're doing. I have a dream. The floor director at KVIE, she came on. Vicky, who I knew from the baby class, who's a web person, she came on. But see, so they actually do all that other stuff. They commentate the video, they edit it, they do it. Vicky does the website. You know, I'm the personality, and I kind of like being the personality. The other part is so fun when somebody else does that for me. Oh,
absolutely. Well, your two friends, I got to meet Damon John when I was at the Isaiah Fest conference in Orlando, Kissimmee, Florida in 2017. So I got to meet one of your Shark Tank people.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I would just, so I love that show. I just think it's the greatest show, and I love what they do for entrepreneurs.
Oh, I think it's brilliant. And we have one here in Canada as well. And the one in Britain. I mean, it's all really useful to be able to help entrepreneurs, because people don't always know or understand how you can contact venture capitalists, and how you would get in touch with an angel investor. So this is a really good marriage. And
we're always talking about angels.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Love those angels.
Yeah. And there's been so many great finds through
I agree.
Different Shark Tanks.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
I have a business coach, and she was actually hired by one of the sharks, Kevin O'Leary, here in Canada, to work on one of his shows with some of his people. It's that's how the world goes. Everything kind of.
And I'm a dreamer too, and these two young men, I think they're almost 30 now, but they came to me, we got together when they were in their low 20s, and they're the most amazing young men. But I promote this to my daughter, I promote this to everyone out there. I'm a dreamer, and and honestly, my daughter's a better manifester, but I'm a manifester. And if I dream it, it's amazing. It comes true. It really does. And I believe if you visualize things, if you dream them, if you see yourself, like many years ago, I said, well, I want to be selling in a corporate setting, which I did, but I saw myself in a business suit. I saw myself talking to corporate people. And then it happened, and I think if you believe in yourself, if you don't believe in yourself, why should anybody else?
Yeah. If we create our own reality, we are in charge, and you're absolutely right. Visualization and putting forward what it is we want to do is really how we get there. But you're right. If we don't have belief in ourselves, it can be very hard to go forward at all, because you're enveloped in fear and stasis, and it's unfortunate, because then your reality just becomes basically nothing. You're buffeted by whatever goes on around you, and it's sad, because the minute you take charge, you can there is no limit. I don't believe
you can soar. And the thing is what you have to understand is, like, these young men on Shark Tank didn't get a deal, but they got a venture capitalist. And so it's okay to fail. If you really look at some of the greats, they didn't make it every time. There were 16 failures in between every success.
Well, and we've already talked about this in when I was saying about understanding where you're going, and humans being comparative. You have to fail to understand success. It's that the yin and yang of everything is important, and I think it's important even for the youngsters of today to understand that failure just means one way it didn't work out, try another. There's got to be one that does.
Well, I'll tell you, before GPS, I used to go in a lot of circles. I keep kicking this.
We lost you.
I'm back.
Well, I have to say I'm lucky in that I have a really good sense of direction.
I have none. I'm directionally challenged.
I have a friend who's very directionally challenged, but that's one thing I don't need, thank God, because my father gave me a GPS. The family was going on a trip. Unfortunately, we were heading to a funeral, and between my sister and I, we were ready to throw this thing out the window, because I don't like going the same way twice. If you can find a different way, there's always something fascinating to see. And this poor GPS, every time I would change directions, it would say recalculating.
I don't know. I know mine does that.
Yeah. Till finally my sister said at some point that thing's going to swear at you because you just keep changing.
I don't know if this is the place, but you have to hear this. This was so funny. So we were doing Siri, because this will crack everybody up. Okay. So we were looking for hotels and blah, blah, blah. And I kept asking Siri and it kept telling me the wrong place. And sorry, but like, I called Siri a mean word, okay? You're up, bleep, bleep, okay? And so Siri, it takes about 30 seconds. It was quiet for a minute, and both my husband and I practically went in our pants. Siri goes, and after all I have done for you.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, we laughed for 10 minutes. It was like, and the phone was quiet for a second. So it was almost like Siri was thinking, like, you know, and it was like, after all I've done for you, I was just shocked.
They are giving them some personality, which is really cute because it does make it more fun. My 5-year-old grandson, when he comes over, I've actually trained my Google. I have to say it quietly because it'll start talking.
Yeah, mine talks too then.
Yeah, I taught it. So when I ask who's the best 5-year-old,
it'll say.
It says Liam, of course.
Oh, that's so great.
And he just thinks that's fascinating.
Oh, I love it.
But we can, you know, we're at a stage now where we can teach AI and where it's wonderful for us who are, well, I'm a baby boomer. You know, we're one of the older generations that are out there, but it's wonderful to be able to work with this technology that the last 3 or 4 generations have never been without.
Oh, yes. I mean,
You know?
they just understand it. And, you know, when I'll say to my daughter, oh, could you help me, you know, and she like looks at me like, how do you not know that?
Absolutely. And it's that, you know, kids now, it's almost intrinsic to
well, it's like
they are.
To use a telephone, you know?
Yeah.
Phone. You know, you knew how to dial it. No one had to teach you.
Well, no one now. You have to explain to the younger generation what that funny thing with the dial is.
Right. The rotary phone. Yeah. No, we're dating ourselves here.
Well, you know, it is what it is, and you know, I've never been one to hide my age. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, like I said, we're ageless goddesses.
Absolutely. I like that attitude.
Yes,
Ageless goddess is a good one. Well, this has really been lovely chatting with you, and I want to again say that we're going to make sure that we have some of Gayle's artwork and links to where you can find her artwork, her angels, and some of the other incredible paintings, jewelry. You do so much.
I'll show you one of my favorites.
Oh, that's lovely.
This one's called Midnight Poppies.
Oh, that's just lovely.
On metal, and it's papers, and here I'll get.
Oh, that's great.
Does that help getting close?
Yeah.
Isn't that a fun piece?
Oh, that is really fun. And I think what I found most exciting about your work is sort of the depth of color.
Well, I'm going to show you something else, but go ahead, keep talking.
Yes, please. And the joy that I feel emanating from what you do.
Well, you know, I have a great deal of energy, and I believe that art is energy. And I don't like, whoops, I'm trying to show you this with my hand. So I've also written a book, The Classy Artist with Countless Styles.
Oh, beautiful.
It has a compilation of, you know, certain of my pieces in there. And, you know, over the years, people want you to be a certain way, and I paint what I feel. I have to be honest. I don't want to paint. I mean, I do commissions, don't get me wrong. But even when someone does a commission, I say, look at what I do. I have an intrinsic style that goes through my paintings, but they're not all the same. And if you don't like that intrinsic style, you're not gonna like the commission I do for you.
Yeah.
But if you like generally what you see, and honestly, my energy is in every painting and I don't take it personally, but if you like that high, good, positive, loving energy, then you're gonna love my paintings, because that's what's gonna come into your home or office.
Absolutely.
But if that's not what you want, you know, there are lots of artists to choose from. And art is emotional, and you choose what brings you happiness. You know, it's about you. It's about what you love and what you see in a painting and what you get out of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's a really, really good point, because quite often people are a little intimidated.
Yes, they are. And I don't want them to be intimidated. I'd rather walk you through the process, help you. And and that's why, you know, I do coasters. This was my scarf that was on Home Shopping Network.
Yeah.
And I do scarves, and I do fashion merchandise. So I do greeting cards that start at $2.50. But, you know, I actually have a show coming up. Maybe we don't want to date this, but in LA, I'm doing a holiday show at a realtor's home in LA.
Wow.
And that will be coming up. Not to date this, but I want something for everybody. I don't want people to feel art is only for certain people. Like, oh, I can't afford it. Yes, you can. You can start with a greeting card and put a frame around it.
Oh, absolutely. Because I think beauty's for everybody. And I think
I agree.
Different things speak to different people, and that's just fine. But getting a nice introduction like this to art can make the difference for somebody who's maybe not sure. Mm-hmm. Give them a chance to take some in, take a good look, see what you really like.
And it is about you. And it doesn't have to match the couch.
No. No, it doesn't. It absolutely does not.
You know, and just the art that is supposed to be for you will call you. I believe that.
Absolutely. That's very nicely said. Now, one thing, Gayle, that I always do with my guests is ask them to leave our audience, please, with a little something that either you use in your life personally or for business. Some people use meditation. Some people have, you know, a great little process that they can use, or, you know, social media. It could be anything. Why don't you offer our audience something that enriches your life on a daily basis?
Well, what I will tell you is I do every morning, because I believe they make a difference in my life. I ask the angels to be with me, because as I understand it from people who I believe have studied for a very long time, they say if you don't ask, it's free will. And so I ask them to be with me every day. And then I have my two lovely rescue pups, which I know on social media you have all met, Sammy and Toby. And I actually put them in the pen so they wouldn't bark through this. And then on my iPhone, we do our little social media thing with a cup of tea. And they're right there with me. And we start the day doing our social media, because that is the start of my work day. And I start my work day on social media, and then I do check it, and I most evenings end my work day on social media, because that has become a very integral part of my business. And my business is, you know, not one fold. It has many streams, and that's one of the parts of the stream.
Well, that's really lovely. And I think it's very nice that it's a little more esoteric today, in that you're starting out with angels. And I think we can all use a little bit of the ethereal in our lives. So bringing angels in every day, that makes perfect sense to me. I'm Elaine Lindsay with Pro Social Media, your host for BBPTV, and today we're with Gayle Rappaport-Weiland, and it's been absolutely lovely to have you on the show. Thank you so much, Gayle.
Well, I have loved it, and I've enjoyed the conversation, and it's great to really get to know you, and I'm so glad we met on social media.
Me too. I think it's absolutely great. So I'm going to say to you, get out there, check out some art, and why not get on to BBPTV and tell us what you like in art. Tell us if perhaps Gayle has given you the impetus to go out and buy some art for yourself. Until next time, make your day amazing, and I'll see you again.